Excellent. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the regular March meeting of the Concord Zoning Board of Adjustment. We will follow our usual procedure this evening, which is to say we will take the cases in the order in which they appear in the agenda. We will ask the appellant to step forward and be sworn in and give us whatever testimony he or she would like us to hear. We will then ask the appellant to step down. We do request that the appellants keep their testimony, if at all possible, to a 10-minute interval. We will then ask the opponent to step down, and we will solicit testimony from anyone in the audience who's in favor of the appeal, and following that, anyone in the audience who might be opposed to the appeal. After all of that, we'll check in with code enforcement to see if there are any comments from their office, and then if any issues have been raised that seem to bear factual clarification, the appellant will have the opportunity to offer that clarification, not new arguments, prior to our closing the public testimony portion of the hearing. In most circumstances, the board will consider and act on each case prior to moving on to the next one. The first case this evening is Aaron Lambert, PE, on behalf of property owner Duval Realty Associates, LLC, and Bank Chevrolet, requesting a variance from Article 28.7, Access, Circulation, Parking, and Loading, Section 28.7.10A, Parking Area Landscape Standards, Parking Lot Perimeter Landscaping, to not require a 4-foot-high solid fence, berm, or dense plantings as required when a parking lot is located within 50 feet of a residential district boundary. The property is known as Tax Map Lot 782 Z8, located at 234 Airport Road in a residential single-family RS Highway Commercial CH and Open Space Residential RO District. They got them all. This is case 0358. Ms. Lambert, do you swear to tell the truth?
I do.
Would you identify yourself for the record and then fill us in on why you believe a variance is appropriate?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Erin Lambert with Wilcox & Barton. I'm here on behalf of Duval Realty, Bank Chevrolet. My client apologizes. We were supposed to be here last month, but there was so they're not able to be here today. So I apologize for that on their behalf. Oh, thank you for bringing that up. So I'm here this evening asking for a variance from Section 28.7.10A. Bank Chevrolet is located at 137 Manchester Street. They own a property across Old Suncook Road, which is 234 Airport Road, with the frontage there. So what they are looking to do is reconstruct an existing parking lot. So if you look at the map that's on the screen, it's the parking lot that's at the west end. So it's an existing parking lot today. It's gravel. They are rebuilding that parking lot with pavement, curb, landscape islands, lighting, adequate drainage, and adequate curb cuts. So one of the things that's unique is that their property is partly in the commercial highway zone and partly in the RS zone. The commercial highway encompasses all of the built development that you see, so the parking lot is fully in the commercial highway. It's an approved use. But where a non-commercial use abuts a residential zone, we are required to put a 4-foot-high berm or fence or other enhanced buffer in order to shield the abutting residential property from headlights. So in this case, the parking lot abuts the City of Concord's property. The properties that you see that are along Airport Road are in the RS zone. Oh, we lost our map. But the City of Concord owns the ball fields that abut the parking lot. Uniquely, the City of Concord doesn't have a lot of parking for the ball fields, and so Bank Chevrolet and previously when they own the property have always allowed the city and the residents to use that parking lot while it's there. So that's really the basis for the request, is to not provide an enhanced buffer along the portion of the property line exclusively shared with the City of Concord's property in the RO zone. So it's 636 linear feet of property line that we're requesting to not put the buffer. As well as a small portion. Our parking lot actually shares a boundary with an RS zone on our property, so there's a portion there. But we are still proposing to put the enhanced buffer on the section of the parking lot which would abut the residents at 222 Airport Road. So it's only asking for relief for a portion. Granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because the purpose of additional screening along a parking lot within 50 feet of a residential boundary is to shield the residential district from the glare of headlights. In this case, the property in the RO zone is owned by the City of Concord and used as ball fields. Bank Chevrolet allows the public to park in their lot when using the ball fields. So if we complied with the ordinance, we'd have to either put in a 4-foot-high solid fence, a 4-foot-high earthen berm, or dense plantings between the ball fields, and that would limit and even inhibit this shared use. It will not be contrary to the public interest for the vegetation along the property line to remain as is. In fact, it would be in the public interest because the newly configured and paved lot will provide parking that is needed to support the ball fields, as there's limited parking available on Old Suncook Road. The variance will not be contrary to the public interest because the requested variance is consistent with the character of the existing neighborhood. Bank Chevrolet allows the public to park in the lot when using the ball fields. Banks will continue to allow that use. It will not create traffic congestion or interfere with traffic safety. Rather, if a solid fence, berm, or dense plantings are required, it would inhibit the shared use and require more cars to park on the street where there is inadequate parking when the ball fields are at maximum capacity. It will not create public safety concerns. Rather, allowing the public to have contiguous access to the ball fields enhances public safety. And a new paved, properly configured parking lot with curb cuts that are appropriate width and drainage controls is desired in our community, as is the shared use of a private parking lot used during off hours. If the variance were granted, the spirit of the ordinance would be observed. Banks proposes to install a 68 linear foot vinyl fence along the portion of the property that is shared with a residential property at 222 Airport Road. The variance is requested specifically for, like I said, the 636 feet, which wraps around bordering the city property, as well as 76 feet within their own property.
If you point at just the right moment, the map might
I
actually.
know, I'm so sorry. That's right.
Gotta love technology.
My words are better than the map. Okay. The uses are compatible and the parking is shared use, benefiting both properties. The parking lot adjacency to the ball field with a wooded buffer fits the character of the neighborhood. It will not negatively affect abutters or the public. Rather, installing a barrier between the parking lot and the city ball fields would negatively impact abutters, as more cars would be parking on the road during those hours. The proposal provides a public benefit and will not create any harm. Lastly, the proposal will be an improvement over current conditions. The lot is gravel, uneven, not striped, and the drainage controls are no longer functioning properly. Number 3, granting the variance would do substantial justice because granting the variance provides relief to the applicant that outweighs impact to the general public. The proposed parking lot improvements are consistent with the area's present use. It would be beneficial to the applicant to maintain the existing vegetation in lieu of a fence, berm, or plantings to shield the ball field from headlights. A fence, berm, or dense plantings will inhibit people from parking in the lot and eliminate easy access to the ball fields. If the variance were granted, the value of surrounding properties would not be diminished. By granting the variance, surrounding properties will not be diminished. The property contains a gravel parking lot today. The proposed improvements include pavement, striping, curb cuts, additional plantings, and new stormwater controls. I should point out that the wooded buffer that exists today between the parking lot and the city-owned property will remain unchanged. And in fact, we're adding a few trees between the existing tree line and what will be the new edge of curb. Lastly, just speaking to unnecessary hardship. Owning to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area would result in unnecessary hardship because no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general purpose of the ordinance and the specific application, and the proposed use is reasonable. This property is different than other properties in the area because it abuts a property located in the RO zone, but the abutting property is not a residential use. In this case, the applicant's property shares a 636 linear foot boundary with a city-owned parcel that is used exclusively for community ball fields. The city does not have much parking to support the fields. Bank Chevrolet allows ballpark patrons to park. The uses are compatible and non-concurrent. No fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purposes of the ordinance provision and specific application of the provision to the property. The provision of enhancing screening along a parking lot within 50 feet of a residential property is to screen that residential property from headlights. The variance is requested where the abutting use is not residential. Rather, the property contains community ball fields and the parking lot is a shared use. Installing a 4-foot-high barrier would disconnect their shared use, which is not reasonable. The proposed use is reasonable. The property currently a gravel lot, and the proposed upgrades to the parking lot will be an improvement.
Is the parking lot essentially going to function the same way it does now? I mean, are they going to change the layout substantially or anything else?
Only in the sense that if you look at it right now, it's not striped, and so the new parking lot will look remarkably similar, but it will have defined aisles, it'll have landscape islands, it'll have curb around the perimeter. It's currently a parking lot for employees of Bank Chevrolet, and that will continue. It's not used for storing vehicles, either for sale or associated with the body shop. So it really just has employees that are there in normal business hours, 8 to 5 or 8 to 6.
How long have banks been allowing the city to use this parking lot?
It predates Banks owning the parking lot. So Banks acquired the property when they purchased the Sandal property back in 2019, I believe. And prior to that, it was always owned by Sandal, and they had used it as long as I can remember. So certainly since Banks acquired the property 7 years ago.
Okay. Other questions from the board? Yes.
How does installing a fence inhibit the parking of the public on that property?
Because there won't be any connectivity between the parking lot and the ball field.
You could put in a gate or an opening.
They can.
Would that still be a variance, though, to have an opening?
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, right now, the way it's laid out, we looked at things like earth and berm, and that would certainly prohibit it. Really, the fence, there is a nice natural buffer now, and we're putting in a few more trees that are required to meet shading. So I guess the thought is it would be just more difficult to maintain. And having it open provides connectivity, because there isn't necessarily one discrete point where people walk in. So I don't know how many locations for people using it we would have to try to identify and put in walkways and gates. So we didn't look at that. We certainly can.
Okay.
I didn't quite come. I'm going to try to avoid looking at that. I didn't quite follow the small portion of it that
Yep.
does not abut the city. Is that it? Just internally?
It is. Could you bring up the other figure by chance that's in there? I colored it, and I have one here if you want me to.
I think I see it here on the map on this hand on the
Yeah.
But is so nothing abuts 222 Airport Road?
Well, you're not going to see it, but this is what's on the board. I'll represent that.
Okay, yeah.
So this portion in red,
Yeah.
and then the blue, we're still proposing to put in because that does abut this residence, right? But here, technically, this is in the commercial highway, and this is residential. So technically, this should have that. It's all wooded, and it's not changing. So we're asking to not have to put a 4-foot-high buffer to shield these trees from our parking.
Oh, it's the same property, but it's a different
It
zone.
is. Yes,
So
exactly.
Oh, you'll be required within your own
Within
property.
our own property.
But what about 222 Airport Road? Is anything?
Yep, right here. So 222, we're keeping the fence along their
Oh,
property
the
line.
fence is staying
The
there.
fence is staying, so we're
Okay.
not asking for relief from that. We're going to put in a barrier that meets
Okay.
the requirements.
All right, got it. Thank you.
Nick, did you want to see this?
I'm sorry, you probably said this at the beginning and I wasn't listening close enough, but what triggered the need for the fence? Was it a change in the use or?
Because we are required to do a site plan, we're required to make sure that everything complies with zoning, and this is in the zoning ordinance, that when you have a non-residential use in a non-residential zone abutting, you're required to do this enhanced buffer. So
and so
the
what-
site plan
What
triggered.
triggered the need for the site plan? Is it a,
Putting in the new pavement.
okay.
Yeah, it triggered the minimum requirement for new pavement, so it went through site plan review.
Thanks.
Oh, so it's basically the same layout, you're just going from gravel to pavement?
Yeah, we're actually bringing it in a little bit. There's a reduction in the impervious because right now the entire lot is gravel. But yes, it's the parking lot just laid out in accordance with current city standards.
Other questions from the board? Is there anything else you'd like us to know?
No, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone who'd like to be heard in favor of this appeal? Is there anyone who would like to be heard in opposition to it? Any comments from code enforcement? Very good. With that, we'll close the public testimony portion of the hearing. We have a request for variance to waive the requirement for a fence and/or berm and/or buffer next to an existing parking lot, which is used by the city but owned by a private owner. Start this one with Mr. Wallner. How do you see it?
Well, normally, if this was truly a residential district that abutted the property, I think I'd be more inclined to deny the request. But I think since, even though it's a it's zoned as residential, it is not, hasn't been. And I think I tend to be a little more forgiving.
Mr. Monahan?
Yeah, I generally agree with Mr. Wallner. I also think sticking a 4-foot-high fence next to the ball field kind of creates more, it's less welcoming to people that are using the facilities.
Very good. Mr. Witters?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's unique because the ball field is obviously not homes, and they have a fence in the small portion that actually does abut an actual residential lot, and it's been historically used for parking, and apparently it's a useful for the city to have there. So I think it's a valid exception or variance.
Ms. Spector-Morgan?
I'm not buying that putting up the actual landscaping or the fence or the berm would inhibit the parking, but given that the situation presently exists and all they're doing is paving it, and as Mr. Wallner said, that although it abuts a residential district, there's no residential use there, I'm inclined to grant the variance.
I agree with my colleagues. Would anyone care to make a motion?
I'll move approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there further discussion on the motion?
Are you incorporating all of their
I
proposed
can
findings?
read the whole thing if you want to. Okay. So I move to grant the variance from Article 28.7, access, circulation, parking, and loading, Section 28.7, 10A, parking area landscape standards, parking lot perimeter landscape to not require a 4-foot-high solid fence berm or dense plantings as required when the parking lot is located within 50 feet of residential district boundary, because all the criteria under RSA 674:33 have been met based on the record before us, and to adopt the applicant's proposed findings as a board findings of fact.
Is there a second? Or is there still is a second? Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The vote is unanimous. The variance is granted. You're welcome. That brings us to the next case this evening. This one has two parts. It's the appellant is Ari B. Pollock, Esquire of Gallagher, Callahan, and Gartrell, who is here on behalf of property owners Onyx Steeplegate Mall LLC and Onyx TD Concord LLC. And they're requesting a 1-year extension for the ZBA case 0133-2023. There's a lengthy detail of the variances, I guess it was all variances that we granted some time ago. I will not read that unless there's somebody here who is absolutely desperate to hear it. And there is also another case related to this, which is also Mr. Pollock on behalf of the same property owners, and they are requesting a new lot of record to be created with a 99-foot frontage on a public street where 300 feet is required. The property is known as Tax Map 611Z Lot 9 at 277 Sheep Davis Road. You all will recognize this as the Steeplegate Mall property. Mr. Pollock, would you like to fill us in on, well, first, you all swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Gentlemen, would you identify yourselves for the records and then fill us in on why you believe
Certainly.
the requests are appropriate?
Thank you. I'm Ari Pollock with the Gallagher firm here in Concord. I'm here this evening for Onyx Partners, and to my right is Doug Richardson, also with Onyx. He's their development and land use director. The first item, as the chair referenced, is simply a request to extend variances that were granted in 2024. Had you read the entirety of the list, you would have read 9 different variances. There actually were 8 that were granted. And so I don't want to send you back to the list, but I want to be clear that the requested variance for Article 28.4.1C relating to minimum lot frontage had been tabled at that May of 2024 meeting, and therefore of the 9 that were requested, 8 were granted. And so we want to be clear that we're not asking to extend something that wasn't approved. The second request we have tonight relates to that question of frontage, which was approved in a different form at a different meeting, and I'll get into that in a moment. As to the 8 that were granted, yeah, it's a mouthful. As to the 8 that were granted in 2024, our reasons for the extension are quite simple. It's a very large and complicated project. We are still in the planning stages. We are in the midst of a number of redesigns of the project that don't really relate to the area surrounding the TD Bank branch or Route 106 for that matter, but do affect the mall project generally and on the Loudon Road frontage side of the project. And so we're still working with planning staff. We're still in the process of pursuing our CDP, the Comprehensive Development Plan, and so we need more time for the variances. I won't dare try to use the screen. It's just going to confuse me.
Flipping behind me.
What's that?
Is it still going?
Current? Well, it's currently working.
Okay, talk fast, Ari.
Maybe
So-
if we ignore it,
Yeah.
it won't act up.
I think
Right.
the first order,
Right.
first order.
Murphy's Law.
The first order of business for the board would be to discuss.
So-
The extension is not a public hearing, so that's for the board to discuss and decide based on
All right.
information presented by
So
the
have
applicant.
you completed your presentation on that subject?
I think so.
All right. Is there any changes?
No,
Any
not to
questions?
the, let me be, not to the areas that surround the project. The project itself is evolving, and we're working with staff on the planning side, but the variances, the need for the variances, the effect on abutting properties, all identical, unchanged.
Questions from the board?
So the variances expire in May of '26?
Correct.
And
This
so
year.
you're asking, and under the rules, if I'm right, this maybe, I'll ask you, Ari, first, but it's a one-time, 1 year?
We're hoping that's enough, and if it isn't, we'll be back to request a new set of variances, but we're hoping the extension is all we need.
Oh, so the rules, you can't by rule get any more than 1
2
year.
+ 1 = 3, and then that's it.
Yeah. So this is good till May of '27. This is what you're extending till
We'll try
May
not
of
to put
27.
odds on this one.
Well,
We understand it.
You were saying?
So yes, just to clarify for the board, is the 1-year extension for these were itemized in the staff report. Their variances 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That you are, if you agree, then you are extending them to May of 2027, May 8th of 2027. It's a
All right.
one and done extension.
And this is not a public hearing in the sense that we don't have to go through
Correct.
the usual procedure. Okay.
That's correct.
Very
Yep.
good. Any other comments or questions by the board? Would anyone care to make a motion?
I move to approve the extension.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? The extension is approved, and we hope we don't have to see you again on this particular topic.
well, but unfortunately, you have to see me again right now for a similar topic.
We're already committed to that, we understand.
I remain Ari Pollack from the Gallagher firm. In this case, we are looking to have a new variance approved for, or in place of a variance that was granted in February of 2025 on the issue of the spin-off of the TD Bank land unit to be an independent parcel. Just to refresh your memory, and if this all sounds familiar, probably because you were here, the Steeplegate Mall is organized as a land condominium. The bank sits on a land unit within that condominium. The bank has been purchased by an affiliate of Onyx, so Onyx now owns the mall and the bank, and this is essentially trying to create a separate standalone lot to host the bank pursuant to its lease and have it be separated from the remainder of the redevelopment project, same way that Applebee's will be treated. Applebee's is a separate, it will become a separate parcel. They're happy to continue existing as they do. This would be the same. So we have 3 units now. The condominium would end, and the mall property would stand on its own with frontage of its own and be redeveloped as the planning process is unfolding. What we are asking for tonight is, frankly, the same variance in different clothing. When we were here 1 year ago, we asked that the board recognize that our 300 feet of frontage was going to go around the corner and be on 2 streets instead of 1. The only thing that has changed is that it will be on 2 streets instead of 1. One of those streets is now proposed to be private. It is a private driveway now. It will remain a private street, whereas before it was one public street touching another public street to get to 305 feet of frontage. The same amount of frontage will exist. There's an exhibit that went in with our application that shows the amalgamation of those 2 areas, 99 feet along Sheep Davis Road and 206 feet along the proposed private road, which we are calling road number 1. We're going to come up with a better name. And that's your 305 feet of frontage. Everything else, frankly, is the same, as is the majority of the findings that the board made in February of 2025 to grant the variance. The variance would not be contrary to the public interest because redeveloping underperforming properties, case in point Steeplegate Mall, greatly outweighs any concerns relating to the requirement that road frontage be located along 2 streets or where one of those streets is to be private, keeping in mind, of course, that this configuration and use and frankly layout exists today and functions as described today. The spirit and intent of the ordinance is observed by granting the variance. It would be consistent with the ordinance that a mixed-use development in the Gateway Performance District is encouraged. The use of the lot is an allowed use, and the variance facilitates an otherwise desirable project in a recognized performance district. Substantial justice would be done in granting the variance. Mixed-use development in the Gateway Performance District is encouraged, and variances facilitate otherwise conforming and desirable project. The values of the surrounding properties will not be diminished. There's no evidence to suggest that immediately surrounding properties would suffer any devaluation as a result of the 2 streets being combined for frontage requirements where one is private. The denial of the variance would result in an unnecessary hardship because this, what the city calls lot number 9, which is really a land unit, would be sufficient to accommodate the TD Bank facility in the same way that it accommodates it now, and it would remain as currently improved and located on an independent parcel instead of a condominiumized parcel. Shaping the proposed lot to accommodate frontage along 1 street, which in this case would be Route 106, frankly would be, it would wreak havoc with the plan that we have put in front of the planning department in terms of current parking requirements, location of driveways, frontage for oddly shaped parcels, whereas the variance would recognize the unique circumstance that this is an existing corner lot. And so we're happy to take your questions. Frankly, not a lot has changed since the last time the board saw this, but because it was different and not just an extension, we felt the need to come in and ask for it to be approved again.
Questions from the board?
Is there anything relevant about private versus public road when it comes to frontage decisions?
Nothing that won't be flushed out in the planning process. The planning department, the engineering department will still have plenty to say about the configuration and layout and specifications of the road. And I would bet that somebody driving this road wouldn't know the difference.
So, but legally, it can count.
It can count. It happens to be a quirk of the Concord ordinance that requires that the street be public. There are a number of ordinances around the state where it doesn't make that distinction.
So the zoning ordinance does require frontage on a public road?
It does.
Okay, so that's the answer to your question.
Oh, okay, so legally, it doesn't count, but you're saying as practically, it's the same function.
That's why we need the variance.
So,
Right.
so this variance I didn't compare it to the last one, but you're asking for technically a larger variance because
Technically,
you
we
can't
are.
count any of it.
We're asking for a variance to be granted to recognize 99 feet of frontage on a public street, but I'm making the explanation that it will ultimately have 305 feet because of the around the corner on two streets.
But I'm just wondering, so Concord does it, sounds like Concord does it differently than a lot of other localities in terms of whether it counts, but
I wouldn't say a lot, I would say they are different. Ordinances are different on this subject.
And I think there's also been a little bit of an interpretation from previous staff as to whether, so an interpretation difference. And the Concord ordinance doesn't help it. There's 2 or 3 definitions, then you get into the subdivision regulations, and there's another definition of frontage. So it's definitely something that needs to be cleaned up or just verified, you know, with a fair interpretation over what is the difference between public and private streets. And I think some of the previous interpretations play a role in this.
100%, and I will tell you that originally we were hoping to avoid coming in on this subject in the first place, but it was determined that the ordinance is allergic to corner lots, and then we were here.
But could the rationale for the distinction in the code be that the city doesn't have as much control over accessibility to a private way?
It could be, but again, this is about to go through a rigorous planning process where I can assure you that the engineering department will make sure that things like emergency access, on-street pedestrian ways are all under consideration. Street lighting, it's going to get the full treatment.
Any other questions from the board?
Can I ask one question?
You bet.
On the plan, it says up at the top, tax map 611Z lot 40-5, and then it still says to be conveyed to the city. Is that just left over from an old plan?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
I had a question for staff, but maybe it's easier if depending on the answer, if Ari stays here. So, reviewing the staff memo, there seems to be something in here about a determination on regional impact. Is that something we have to deal with, or is that just boilerplate in the staff memo?
That is something that the board can determine at this time, whether or not you feel as though this application falls under any other criteria for development of regional impact.
But if we take no action, there's no. We're not.
You would have to make that motion. You have to clarify. Yes, it does by a motion. No, it doesn't by a motion.
Thank you.
And it doesn't because it doesn't meet what's outlined by staff.
Thanks.
But I think recently staff has been putting that in all the staff memos, right?
Yeah, we've had a few tennis match conversations about it in the department and within, with trying to figure out what is going to be moving forward. The reason to have that in there as boilerplate for everything, or only if applications are applicable to the criteria. So that's kind of where the tennis match is continuing.
I know which side of that net I'm on.
Yeah. Well, at the end, maybe we can volley that.
Sadly, I'm on both.
To the extent it matters, we don't want it in there if it doesn't need to be in there. Just for what it's
Just a
worth.
step you might miss.
It's a red
Well, I don't want to put ourselves in a position of making those determinations and not giving the applicant a chance to develop a record on it.
Yep.
Right.
That's-
So right at this time, I guess better to be safe than sorry is to make the motion to be clear that it does not meet. You feel as though it does not meet the criteria.
That would be the applicant's position with respect to this variance request. That it does
I'm
not
inclined
meet,
to-
it is not an issue of regional impact, whether or not this frontage for this land unit.
Want us to make a decision on that somebody could challenge, or our current practice is just
I
not to
can
say
tell you it won't matter one bit. If your current practice is to ignore that question, I am comfortable with that.
Yeah, my point was just to make it to be cleaner, to say, no, it doesn't, yes, it does, with a motion or whatever, so.
Very good. Any other questions from the board? Anything else you'd like us to know?
No, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Is there anyone here who would like to be heard in favor of this appeal? Is there anyone here who would like to be heard in opposition to it? Is there any comment from code enforcement?
Just as a note that it was in the staff report, that this right now is a variance for frontage, but just to make the point that there may be additional variances with this property in the future for setbacks if they can't be met. So that was just a little.
Well, we'll deal with those if they come
They
along.
may be back in front of you.
All right.
It's because Ari loves coming to see us.
I was
on
just about to say
Wednesdays.
the same thing. turns out we're in harm's way, we'll be back.
Is there anyone who wishes to be heard in opposition? There was nobody. And no comments from code enforcement other than that? With that, we'll declare the public testimony portion of the hearing closed. I'll begin with Ms. Spector Morgan. How do you see this one?
I don't have any issue with this one. It keeps things exactly the way they are with frontage on a public road and a private road. And I think all 5 of the variance criteria are met.
Mr. Winters?
Yeah, I do think in another, context, the private road versus public road could make a big difference. But, I think this applicant is, showing a lot of professionalism. They're obviously working with the cities. It's a challenging project to complete, and I'm not saying I would prove anything for any reason, but I think this is a relatively minor compared to the entire project. So which I would like to see succeed if possible. So I agree.
Very good. Mr. Monahan?
I have nothing to add.
Mr. Wallner?
And neither do I.
Nor do I. Would anyone care to make a motion?
I move.
Are you doing the DRI too? Did you guys decide whether you're going
We're going to
to
let,
motion to not do DRI or not address it at all?
we're just going to address it.
Okay, thank you.
I move to grant the variance from section 2841H minimum tract requirements to allow a new lot of record to be created with 99 feet of frontage on a public street where 300 feet is required. And I move to adopt the applicant's proposed findings as the board's findings of fact.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? The vote is unanimous. The new variance with private property is granted.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Good luck. The next case is Allison Moore Esquire on behalf of No Monkey Business Dog Training, requesting a variance on behalf of the property owner at 2 Industrial Park LLC from Article 28.2 Zoning Districts and Allowable Uses, Section 28.4J, Allowable Principal and Accessory Uses in Zoning Districts, Table of Permitted Uses, yada yada, to allow a commercial kennel to be located in the Industrial Park IN District where it is not allowed. The property is known as Tax Map 622Z Lot 21, and it's at 2 Industrial Park Drive, case 0361. Would you promise me that you will tell the truth and nothing but?
Yes,
Thank you so much. And would you identify yourselves for the record, please?
absolutely. My name is Allison Moore of the law firm of Soloway & Hollis here in Concord, New Hampshire, and I sit with Helen St. Pierre, the principal of No Monkey Business Dog Training, LLC.
Please proceed.
Thank you. For those on the board that are not familiar, No Monkey Business is a small business based here in Concord, New Hampshire. The application pending before the board relates to an expansion of that business to a second location at 2 Industrial Park Drive, which is an existing office industrial park with lot frontage on Industrial Park Drive and Pembroke Road here in Concord. Specifically, as indicated in the application materials, Ms. St. Pierre would be renting the end unit of one of the buildings that is in this industrial park, but of course the variance is sought for the whole lot since that's our obligation. But No Monkey Business is bringing this application with the permission of the property owner to Industrial Park LLC. Thank you for putting that up on the screen. The green box indicates where the proposed use would actually take place within the industrial and office space facility. As noted in the application, the proposal would not change the existing footprint of the lot, wouldn't change anything on the exterior of the building, but those photos that are just below show that the proposed use would make use of this industrial space by converting the floor to dog-friendly running environment, putting up a fence for security for any visitors that come on site, but otherwise the interior is unaffected by the proposed use as well. The existing industrial building, as further described in our proposed findings of fact, is well suited for this open play and training area for dogs. The surrounding properties within this industrial complex include fitness gyms, children's gymnasium activities, along with some other nonprofit uses and office spaces. And then the farther to the top of the page has more of the actual industrial uses on the property. At least 2 surrounding property owners have submitted letters in support. We don't believe they're attending tonight. I do have copies for the board of those letters, though I believe one was emailed directly to the city by Robin James, who operates the facility directly adjacent in A900 in support of the proposed use. And the application notes the importance of having this type of facility in Concord. An indoor dog exercise and dog training facility of this kind doesn't exist in the city, and it can exist by right anywhere in the city, which is why we're here with this variance application. A commercial kennel, while the best fitting definition within your table of uses, is not a perfect match for what the proposed use actually is. The commercial kennel is defined primarily as a housing facility, an overnight boarding facility, grooming facility, in addition to training. All that the proposed use relates to is an indoor training and dog exercise facility that would not involve overnight boarding, would not involve any sort of grooming or selling of pets on site, just an open play space for dogs to come, particularly in the winter weather here in Concord. With respect to the actual criterion, this would be not contrary to the public interest, as the primary reason that No Monkey Business has expanded to this additional proposed use is by request of members of the public here in the Concord and Greater Concord area. In addition, a variance must unduly and to a marked degree conflict with the ordinance, and such that it would violate the ordinance's basic zoning objectives. As applied here, since there's no overnight boarding of animals, we would propose that such an unduly burden does not exist. This would be in favor of the public's interest. More so, there are no outdoor areas that are particularly safe in adverse weather for dogs to spend time and exercise in the winter months. With respect to the spirit of the ordinance being observed if it was granted, as noted, the exterior of the building remains unchanged, all within existing structures, and no noticeable difference to the general neighborhood. The enclosed photos show that the proposed use of the premises would leave no change to how it would be observed from the exterior as already approved for this specific site. No individual animal is expected to be on site for a lengthy period of time, and they would always be accompanied by their owner or caretaker. In terms of substantial justice, as noted, there's no location within Concord under the existing ordinance that permits commercial kennel or the proposed dog exercise and training facility by right. It always requires some sort of action by this board. And the applicant believes that while there is some benefit to their business, any sort of impact in not being able to bring this business to this particular available facility with the adequate space to allow for this indoor use would be more harm than any impact to the public, since it's our position that the impact to the public would only be beneficial from this type of use.
So glad you're doing this. I would be stuttering the whole time and probably crying. So,
When it
You're a
comes,
good client. Make the lawyer in the middle of the hearing. I want clients like that.
the presence of an indoor dog training
I'm sure you have.
and exercise facility should have no adverse impact on the surrounding areas, as noted also in the letters of support that we'll provide when the other members of the public are able to come up. This is seen as a positive benefit for adjacent property users. And then the final criterion of unnecessary hardship. The proposed use is requested in this existing industrial park. The specific elements of this property include that it has a mixed use of businesses, sits on the edge of the IN district, directly abutting the OFP and RWP districts, which further adds to the specific character. Plus, while we're talking about the site as a whole, the A1000 end unit further provides benefits to this type of proposed use, because if there was any dog that was particularly excited while playing, it has an even less impact on the surrounding users. But otherwise, we fully welcome any questions on the proposed use.
Questions from the board? Yes.
You said in your application that kennels are allowed by special exception and conditional use in other districts?
That is correct.
Which districts?
I believe.
If you know.
Yeah, that's.
Or staff can answer.
No, sure, absolutely. I believe, I think I have that in one of my notes, be a matter of finding it. If staff has it faster, that could very well be, but my recollection is that at least one of them by special exception is in, I want to say the RM district, but I could be mistaken. It is, to help, it's down at section M8.
M,
Yeah,
thank you.
down in agricultural.
What's your other location?
My other location is in Regional Drive. It's less than a mile.
Thank you. So special exceptions RO, I was off by one, sorry.
Thanks. And then my other question is, you said there was a child's play gym. Did you mean the gymnastics?
The flips.
The flips, okay.
Yeah, Robin with flips.
Okay, thanks.
And in the event, I think that Robin's letter of support was emailed directly to the development email address, community development email address for the city, so we brought printouts of it
Okay,
just in
thank you.
case, yeah.
I'll have to track that down via email, it didn't come.
She forwarded it to me, and then I forwarded it to Allison, so I have it.
Okay.
I do have it.
But yes, Flips is right next door, directly next to Flips. I don't believe is currently occupied, and then one more over is the fitness gym.
Thank you.
So a lot of fitness in the area.
A question. So you said a few times it's not the greatest fit for commercial kennel, but that's the best fit, but it's not a perfect fit.
For the definition of the proposed use, that's
Yeah.
correct. It's mentioned in the staff memo that
Yeah.
it's not quite a perfect fit
Yeah.
for the definition.
But what about like a doggy daycare? Or where would that fit? How would that be classified? I guess either you or staff. could
Sure.
answer.
So similarly, a doggy daycare and a kind of a kennel contemplate the owners bringing their pets to a facility and then leaving. Versus the circumstances of this dog exercise and training facility is that owners or caretakers are always on site with their pets, whether for individual rental of the space to practice training exercises, or just, again, in those winter weather, or honestly, sometimes the hot pavement in the summer, getting inside with their dogs.
Oh, so you're saying a doggy daycare is actually even a closer fit, although still not perfect for a kennel.
The
Still
kennel,
Okay.
yeah, because it's completely individually, privately
Right,
used.
right. Got it.
And so that's kind of where we would do the same thing if this was just a doggy daycare, that we have to kind of put it under some kind of use. It may not
Yeah.
match perfectly, and if we don't have a definition for it, or you'd go to the dictionary and look at what the definition is, but that's kind of how we rule to, if uses that come in, uses that come in that are different, but we can classify them as something to put them in a use, to put them in the area, and work with the applicant with what the approvals would be needed from that.
To further answer your question, perhaps, that the type of definition, if not a commercial kennel that we'd be looking at here, is more of a facility that offers exercise and training, not necessarily housing, for companion animals, where pets can engage in physical activity and exercise, where activities are conducted as a business, which is part of the commercial kennel definition as well.
Gotcha.
But it's more of, the biggest impact is also the hours of operation. This isn't an overnight facility.
Yeah, right.
It's not a facility where you would have large numbers of animals on site in a given time, but for in specific training class circumstances when you have training individuals on site to assist with the dogs. Otherwise, it's individual owners, perhaps a friend, who are coming on site with their dogs. Usually, and Helen, you can certainly provide more context on this, you'd be looking at, one or two dogs on site at a time, occasionally up to a group of 3 or 4, unless there's a training class happening.
Most of the time, it's singular dogs where people can't take them to the dog park. They're a dog that needs to be more one-on-one. They want space to train privately. They don't have a neighborhood where they're worried about off-leash dogs, so they want to bring their dogs to come play. So it's primarily been used with just one individual with their 1 or 2 dogs.
So you're not doing big group lessons?
No. I developed this because so many clients were asking for a place. I don't know if you guys have heard of Sniff Spot, but Sniff Spot is a private rental for people's homes or their yards that they could rent. but most of them are outside. So I would talk to my clients and ask them, you know, your dog needs more off-leash time. Look at sniff spots. They're like, they're too far away, or they're all outside. So I apologize because I never would have rented the space if I didn't know it was zoned. There was a dog trainer in there prior. And so when my landlord approached me, when the space became vacant and said, hey, you were looking for a satellite space, there was a dog trainer in here before it, and I went in and I would never, cross my T's, dot my I's. So, yeah, it's because of client request. They were like, we'd love a space, and I thought, if I can create a space for clients to go safely and enjoy climate controlled, I will.
And we do have one letter of support from one of Ms. St. Pierre's clients regarding the request for the use of the space and why it's beneficial, particularly for her 4-year-old and her 6-month-old puppy.
Would you like that to be in the record?
Yes, please.
Could you give me a copy?
Yes, no, absolutely. I have copies.
Okay, thanks.
I found the definition for kennel just for the board's board's use. A facility for housing dogs, cats, or other pets, but not livestock, poultry, wild animals, or exotic animals, where grooming, breeding, boarding, training, or selling of these pets is conducted as a business. So
Thank you.
that's.
There are no giraffes, I promise.
And as mentioned, while I do agree that's the best fit under the table of uses that Concord has in its ordinance, we believe that this use more aligns with a definition closer to a facility that offers exercise and training for companion animals where pets, but not livestock, poultry, wild animals, or exotic animals, can engage in physical activity and exercise, is more an apt description of what is actually proposed.
And is that a use in the ordinance, or no?
It is not a use in Concord's ordinance.
And you said there was an earlier letter? There were 2 letters?
There are 2 letters. One was emailed to, again, I think accidentally, to the community development address at the city of Concord. And then
Is that among the
that
ones
is
you have
within-
here?
Yes, that is.
Okay.
Yes,
That's
sir.
from Robin, who is the owner of Flips Gymnastics.
Right next door.
And who's literally next door. She's wonderful, and she's a small business owner, and she's known No Monkey Business for a long time. She was very happy when I moved in next door. She loves it because the parents will bring their kids to run around in flips, and the dads bring the dogs to the other space, and then everybody goes home tired, so.
Very much.
Okay, very good. Is there anything else you'd like us to know?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the board? Thank you very much.
I didn't cry.
Have a treat.
Is there anyone in favor of, who'd like to be heard in favor of this appeal? Is there anyone in opposition? I do have I have 3 emails here, I believe. One from Robin James to Helen St. Pierre. She is in support. He owns and operates Flips, which is right next door. And I have a letter from Alexa Racine, who is also in favor. Of the variance. Familiar with the activities in this location. No burden on my business with respect to parking, noise, or other concerns. And a letter from Len Denbo, excuse me, who is in full support of the variance. She's been to the location several times. She finds that a facility like this would be very useful for her with her own pets. Any comments from code enforcement?
Nope.
With that, we'll declare the public testimony portion of the hearing closed, and I will invite the board to discuss this case, starting with Mr. Winters.
Yeah, I'm inclined to support it. I think, it kind of illustrates, what we all know, that the code is is always slightly behind actual trends of what people are doing, because it's impossible to keep up with it in real time, and this is the type of activity that, you know, there may not have been a huge demand for even 20, certainly not 30 or 40 years ago, and, you know, over time people, you know, want to do niche types of activities like this, and also in an industrial area where previously there might have been a greater demand for the traditional industrial uses. Some of that demand is softening, but there's more demand for consumer-facing activities like this. So I think it's a creative use, and it's a low impact in that area to any of the neighbors.
Mr. Monahan, how do you see it?
Yeah, I'm in support of it. It seems to be definitely doing a good job of getting information out to the abutters, tenants, and owners, so there's buy-in from the neighbors, which is helpful.
Ms. Spector-Morgan?
At the risk of getting myself in trouble, I'm almost always a no on use variances. But given this particular use and that it does not fit so clearly into the definition of kennel and really is more like a private gym for dogs, which would be a permitted use, I am inclined to grant this variance.
Mr. Wallner?
I agree.
I agree with my colleagues. Would anyone care to make a motion?
I can. I move to grant the variance from Article 28.2 zoning districts and allowable uses, Section 28.2.4J, allowable principal and accessory uses in zoning districts, table of permitted uses, M8, to allow a commercial kennel as described in the application to be located in the industrial district where it is not allowed because all of the criteria under 674-33 have been met based on the record before us. And I move to adopt the applicant's proposed findings as the board's findings of fact.
We have a second.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? The vote is unanimous. The variance is granted. That brings us to our next case this evening, which is Joseph and Alicia Freudenfeld, who are property owners of 8 Susan Lane and request a special exception pursuant to Article 28.7, access, circulation, parking, and loading of commercial vehicles, and special exceptions, in accordance with special requirements of special exceptions, to permit the parking of 1 commercial vehicle in a residential district. The property is known as Tax Map 412/Z, Lot 74/1/2. It's located at 8 Susan Lane in the medium density residential district. Swear to tell the truth and nothing but.
I do.
Would you identify yourselves for the record, please, as you testify?
Yes, Joseph Freudenfeld. Beside me is my wife, Alicia Freudenfeld.
What would you like us to know?
Well, first of all, good evening. My name is Joseph, like I said. I own and operate American Handyman LLC, a sole proprietorship business that I started several years ago, doing oddball handyman jobs, small construction, remodeling, etc. I'm requesting a variance to be able to park my work trailer at my house.
You're requesting a special exception.
Yes, sorry. Thank you very much. Special exception, yes. It is an enclosed 7x14 utility trailer. No external ladder racks or anything like that. It's a newer model. It's clean. It's well maintained. I don't have a separate location to run my business out of. I don't have a shop. I'm just me. I don't have a crew. So I don't have really anywhere else to park it realistically. It doesn't make any noise. It doesn't impede any traffic or anything like that. Sight lines are maintained. Access for emergency vehicles is not a problem. It's parked entirely on my property in a manner that maintains the residential appearance.
But it is within the front setback, isn't it?
Not anymore.
Yeah, that's what we, so we reached out to the applicant to let them know, like, hey, as we're going through the information, it looks like it is located in the front setback. So at the time of the staff report, so we reached out to the applicant to say, hey, if you can't meet the front setback, you may be needing a variance as well. So the applicant submitted additional information to show that the trailer can be parked not within the front setback. So the need for the variance for front or side setback is not necessary.
Very good.
The applicant is
Oh, it's out of the
Relocated.
setback, but he still needs
Yeah,
the
the initial
special exception
materials
to park
submitted,
it at
yeah,
all.
it looked like it was gonna be in the setback, and so then we reached out and kind of, had further communication with him through Brian. Applicant was willing to then show the proposed location where it is in this photo, if the TV is working.
So
But the
that's,
trailer was not within the front setback now.
so that's typically where you're leaving it,
That
in
will
your
be where
driveway
it is.
like
If
that.
it's not rolling around behind my truck, that's where it'll be parked.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
He's talking about the trailer.
Right, yeah, I was thinking of some questions, but I'm out of order, so.
So I don't
that's
know
okay.
if this is related or unrelated, but I don't know if you remember, we had a guy that wanted to park an RV.
Oh, yeah.
This is the same neighborhood. But this street's in the back far corner of it. There's no like outer streets. It's just one. I lived on Jennifer for 20 years.
Yeah,
So I'm very familiar with the
Hello.
neighborhood where you are.
So the only reason this is before us is because it's considered commercial, and the reason it's considered commercial is because there's writing or something on the trailer. Is that the reason?
It's actually the height of the
The height.
trailer. It's above 7
Oh,
feet
it's the
tall.
height?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 7.5
So
feet
if it was
tall.
a trailer just to
I see
transport
the view.
snowmobiles or anything like that, it would
Then
still
I-
have to come before us?
Recreational, I'd have to,
Recreational.
yeah, I'd have to check.
Yeah, but it'd be the same. I mean, you could put
Check.
or an ATV in there.
Yeah.
Somebody use that trailer to put an ATV in it. Would it still come before us?
I'd have to check.
Yeah.
Because I know we're speaking of recreation, campers, things like that. I don't know off the top of my head.
Would he need a special exception to park it in the side part of his lot, like parallel
Yes,
to the
it-
house?
well, the criteria says that it can't violate the front or the side setback.
So you could park it at the back if you could get it back.
Correct.
Right.
I would love to do that, except I can't run over my leach field that's out there.
Yes.
Right.
Any questions from the board?
It's kind of like, is it, remember the Eversource truck
Oh, yeah.
from a month or two ago? Same.
I remember that.
Yeah, I can't remember the street, but that was just a few months
That was,
ago.
pretty
In
near,
Homeows.
that was on the south end somewhere.
Yeah.
5 Midland, yeah, thank you, 5 Midland.
Did you mention the leach field issue in your application?
Correct. I have the leach field on my side, so I can't drive across the yard in order to park in
That
the
creates
back.
a unique circumstance where you wouldn't be able to,
Yes, sir.
or a
Oh,
hardship.
Oh, so
Which you
you
don't need.
Yeah.
This is
so you
special.
can't
Oh,
even,
right.
you can't even drive across a leach field.
Correct.
No, you
Yeah,
cannot.
Unfortunately, you risk crushing the pipes that are buried in there.
And
I would sure love
it
to.
serves both units, but it's on one side of the building.
Any other questions from the board? Yes,
One.
ma'am.
In your application, you say you meet the supplemental standards. Are there supplemental standards, and what are they?
Yeah.
Those are the special exception standards.
Are there supplemental special exception standards?
I don't know the answer to that,
As
to
far
be
for
honest
the
with you.
parking in the commercial vehicles?
Yeah.
I kind of remember there are.
Yeah, I think
there's a
this is what
list
you're
of-
referring to.
Oh, so it's just that stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think-
Okay.
I would, sorry, I don't know if it's appropriate time. I was
Yeah,
able to
it's all
secure written support from 5 different neighbors, and I brought one with me.
Sure.
Sure.
You did not make copies for everyone, sorry.
But you
That's
have-
okay. As long as you give one to the big cheese, you're good.
All right, don't worry.
Meaning you or her?
Yeah, we-
Definitely you.
So where is this on the east side? Where is this?
East Concord,
Beacon Pass?
right up off exit 16.
Next to Turtle Pond.
Thank you.
It's in the Turtle Pond condo.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Other,
Sorry?
What number, Susan Way?
8 Susan Lane.
are there other questions from the board? Is there anything else you'd like us to know?
I think that's it for now.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone who'd like to be heard in favor of this appeal?
There is.
Please come forward.
My name is Bruce Gerard.
You swear to tell the truth, Mr.
do.
Gerard?
My name is Bruce Gerard. I am the other owner. Together, Freudenfelds and myself comprise the entire association of 6 and 8 Susan Lane. And I have absolutely no qualms with him storing a trailer there. I feel he's trying to make a living, and I don't want to be the one impeding that.
Very good. Any questions from the board? Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard in favor? Anyone opposed? Please come forward. Swear to tell the truth and nothing but.
I do.
Would you identify yourself for the record as you testify,
Sure.
please?
Laurel Anderson. Myself and my husband own the property next door, both 4 and 2 Susan Lane.
What would you like us to know?
I'm confused at this point in time. I think it's because it came under the commercial bit, and what I just heard you say, it was only considered commercial if the writing was on the side of the truck?
In this case, it was height.
Height, okay.
It's not a truck,
All
it's a
right.
trailer, I think.
So I have no problem with that trailer as such. It's all the other vehicles that keep accumulating there, as, you know, vehicles filled with construction material. I have concerns about the number of vehicles that are parked in the street often, dump trucks, you know, just different kinds of things. I'm wondering if there's even been a variance given for having a business in that residential area.
As far as I know, it's not necessary for what he's doing to have a variance.
Okay. So I don't have a problem with the trailer itself. It's with all the other kinds of things that are going with it.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions from the board? Thanks very much. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard? I do have the letters here. All of them are in favor. We have one from Jason Cheverfield of 33 Jennifer Drive. We have one from Colt and Eliza Smelster of 14 Jennifer Drive. We have one from Daniel Lawton of 7 Susan Lane. And we have one from Alex Mezebov, who lives at 5 Susan Lane, who is in favor of the appeal. The details of their correspondence are available at City Hall if you'd like to see them. And we have also one from Len and Joanne Lytle of 11 Jennifer Drive, who have not experienced any concerns with the trailer, related to the trailer, and are in favor of the request for a special exception. Any comments from code enforcement?
No, I believe that code has been working with the applicant on some of the issues that have been discussed as far as vehicles, and there was plans for another driveway to accommodate vehicles. So the city has been working with the applicant. I believe the applicant is not moving forward with the second driveway now.
Yes, Mr. Freudenfeld, if you'd like to offer factual clarification in response to what you've heard, now's the time.
So we did decide not to go forward with the second driveway.
Okay.
The dump truck and the other vehicles that were mentioned they belong to somebody that was staying with us. They're not mine. They're gone. Everything's been removed. The only thing left is that trailer, and there's no plan for any of it to come back. So, yeah, we are going to pass on the driveway. That's just too expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do right
Yeah,
there.
I just want to make sure that the board knew that the city was working with the applicant,
Yeah.
and the applicant's been very cooperative and coming into compliance with what the city's been asking.
So what she's saying, she had a point, but it's all
been corrected,
So-
and permanently removed.
that had nothing to do with your business.
Nothing at all.
Okay.
No, they're a friend of mine's vehicles who's staying.
So do you do? I mean, I'm sure you do like prep work and stuff, but do you do any like substantial work at your home, or you're always going to customer sites?
I always go to customer's house. I don't.
Can I do your home
I might build a
occupation?
cabinet in my garage if I'm bored on a weekend.
Home occupation too.
I do have the home occupation permit. Yes.
So they did submit for home occupation, and it was recently approved. That's
Oh, that
correct.
doesn't have to come through us for something
No,
like this.
but it was brought up running a business there, but the applicant did meet the criteria currently in the zoning for having a minor home occupation.
Yep.
And filled the application and support to that. So that's what I've been saying. The city's been working with him for some violations that were brought to the city's attention, and the applicant's been cooperative in coming into compliance and keeping us up to date on the status of the property.
Can I ask you a question? Well, I've actually heard.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Because I mean, just driving around, of course, being on the zoning board, I'm kind of heightened to these things, but I notice numerous of these kind of things, you know, in my neighborhood and all over the city. My sense is the city's not that interested in investigating each one of these unless somebody complains, right? Is that fair to say?
That is how we track the things down. If Brian's out driving around and notices a sign violation or notices a violation, then he takes it upon himself to get in touch. The other way is through the city's website with the citizen click, report a complaint.
Can they do
So
that?
unless we don't actively go to like each neighborhood and
Look for-
search them out. But if
Right.
if there's a complaint or Brian sees it, it's brought to our attention, neighbors, whatever the case is, then yes, the city does take action on them.
Can those be made anonymously, or does that have to be a named complaint? Not okay. It can be anonymous.
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah.
From a friend.
Yeah.
I have those.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
With that, we'll declare the public testimony portion of the hearing closed, and I will request commentary from the board, starting with Mr. Wallner this time.
It's a special exception. I think it meets all night prerequisites.
Mr. Monahan.
I agree with that, and it seems to be consistent with previous actions of the board. Not that that should matter, but
Mr. Winters.
I'm going to be probably inclined to agree, but I just want to say I find these to be among the hardest types of cases to decide because the factors are almost always the same. It's, there's a truck or a commercial vehicle, and people tend not to like them in their neighborhood that much, especially if they start to, a lot of them, and usually the justification is almost always along the lines of, this is what I do for work. I can't afford a garage, and I don't have any other place to put it, and I don't find an easy answer to these.
Well, I know what you're saying, but I think in the case of special exception, if people want to object to it, they got to have very specific, fairly narrow reasons.
Yeah.
It's mostly, from my point of view, a special exception is find a reason not to grant. That's kind of the assumption. It's just a few boxes to check to make sure there aren't loose ends, as opposed to a variance where you're asking to change the compliance with the law.
Yep.
So that's how I justify it anyway. Ms. Spector Morgan.
I agree. A special exception is use that is permitted, provided the requirements are met, and I think they're met here.
I agree with my colleagues. Would anyone care to make a motion?
I'll move approval.
Is there a second?
a second.
Do we have a litany of things we're meant to say when we approve a special exception?
I'll go through the thing here. I move to the special exception for the parking of a commercial vehicle at 8 Susan Lane because all of the criteria under section 28-9-3B2 item, and then I'm going to add 1 through 9 of the Concord Zoning Ordinance have been met based on the records before us, and to adopt the applicant's proposal findings as the board's finding of fact.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? The vote is unanimous. The special exception is granted. And that brings us to our next case this evening, which is Eric Stringnoyer, if I pronounced that correctly. If I did not, please correct me when you come up, of Top Notch Carpentry. On behalf of property owner ZIBV Properties LLC, requests a variance from the Article 28.2, allowable uses, to permit cabinet manufacturing business in an existing building with light industrial and warehouse uses. The property is known as Tax Map 632/Z Lot 87, located at 70 Pembroke Road in the Opportunity Corridor Performance District. This is case 0364. Gentlemen, do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but?
Yes, we do.
Would you identify yourselves for the record as you testify, please?
Absolutely. Matt Johnson, Divine Millimet. I was retained by Top Notch Cabinetry after they filed their application. I do have a letter of authorization if the board needs it. Or Tristan Stringnauer is here with me on my right, and Eric Stringnauer is with me behind me. They're the owner and principals of Top Notch Cabinetry, they rented they leased a property from the landlord, and then neither the landlord or they realized that this is not actually a permitted use now that this is the Opportunity Corridor Performance District, and so they applied for a use variance to engage in cabinet manufacturing. This property has uses that are light industrial and warehouse uses. There's a storage business, there is a t-shirt manufacturing business, there's a dance studio. I think importantly, there's an automotive repair business that this board granted a variance for, I believe in 2018. As staff notes, prior to the rezoning of this into the Opportunity Corridor Performance District, this use would have been permitted. And so prior to that zoning change, we do believe it meets all the 5 factors to grant the variance. We believe it would be in the public interest. It is an entirely internal use. It's about 6,500 square feet have been rented in this roughly million square foot space. So it does not limit any other uses or any other further uses consistent with the zone. It's internal. It is not public facing, meaning they don't take in customers or clients, so there's not a parking issue. They build custom cabinets in the space. It is only open during the week, 7 to 4 p.m. They use high-end equipment to eliminate the noise, and they have a state-of-the-art dust mitigation system to avoid that. They are also set up within the space so they're not actually abutting any other tenants, and so there is space between all of the tenants. So again, if someone could put up the actual overhead picture, there you go. Their space is in the far back of the building, looking out on the rear parking lot. So as you can see, they are removed, about as removed as you can be from other tenants in the space and also any other residential abutters, and given the, so they are removed. We believe the spirit of the ordinance is satisfied with this variance request, given the nature of the property, particular nature of the property, and also how this use is going to be entirely internal. It does not preclude or hinder any of the other goals or intents of the district that it is in. It doesn't prevent further redevelopment, and it's just light manufacturing, which I know as a policy level, people are trying to encourage the development of that, and there's already an automotive repair shop in the business in that building, which is far more public facing and would have more of an impact on the public in the area than in a fully internal commercial cabinet business, which again is not public facing. Relative to the variance would do substantial justice. Again, this is an internal fit up of an inside of the space. You're not changing the building in any way, shape, or form. No exterior changes whatsoever. No impact on the public, no impact on abutters, given the location of the property, and it's wholly indoors. It helps the landlord in that more of the space is rented out, and it does not preclude the landlord from renting other spaces or further maximizing the property. If the variance were granted, we believe there'd be no impact on the value of surrounding properties as you look at the location of this property and where internally this applicant would be situated. Again, it's all entirely internal. It is already a space with a mixed use of industrial. You have the Concord Christian School there, and you have some residential space around that. But again, it used to be completely removed from that and entirely internal to the building. And again, no public is coming to the space, so there's no added traffic or noise or any of that impact that would otherwise be a question. And relative to unnecessary hardship, if you look again, the property is unique as it's situated in that zone. It is already used for light industrial and storage and manufacturing space. So we'd submit that this use is consistent with how the property is already being used, and in fact how it would have been permitted to be used prior to the rezoning of this area. And so given the nature of that property, it really, as configured and as currently tenanted, it is really only set up for either office or light manufacturing or storage uses, which is consistent with what the applicant is proposing to do for the space. And so we would submit all the 5 factors have been met, and we would ask the board to grant the variance so that, use variance so that my client can engage in the cabinet manufacturing business that they intend to do so in the space.
Is this the old Sprague Electric building?
Yes.
It is?
Yep.
Stephanie, I've got a question about the wording here. I want to make sure I correctly understand it. It says, to permit cabinet manufacturing business in an existing building with light industrial and warehouse uses. Is the building, are light industrial and warehouse uses what are permitted? Or is the existing, or is the cabinet manufacturing business somehow connected with light industrial and warehouse uses?
I believe the characterization was that there's existing light and industrial uses in the building.
Okay, so that is meant to refer not to what's permitted, but what's
existing, I think.
what's being requested.
Correct.
All right.
And we would submit what's already there,
Right.
how it's already being used.
But, right, do you, roughly, when was this rezoning?
2019? I believe 2019, in that time frame. At least, I'm going from memory of the staff memo. The staff memo has it when it was rezoned.
Yeah.
And do you think most of the light manufacturing that's in there now, because if you're already in there, you get a pre-existing.
No, they just signed a lease in January. They're
But
not.
the other uses that are
Yeah.
there, do they predate the zoning change?
I don't know that answer. That's a fair question. I don't
So
know.
in the staff report, the building is located in the Opportunity Corridor Performance District. It's surrounded by residential single-family, industrial, and office park performance district. The building is mixed with office space uses along with an automotive repair shop that was granted in 2018. A variance was granted. Staff notes that prior to the parcel being rezoned OCP in 2019, with the intent to facilitate residential development, including conditional approval of a project in 2021 that has since expired. The site was previously zoned OFP, which could have permitted the proposed use. So that word salad kind of talks about like a little bit of the history and the zone and the change, and here we are today for uses that were approved in there, and just highlighting that there was a variance granted for another type of industrial use for this property, which would not have been allowed.
So does it seem from that from what you read, that the motive for the rezoning seemed to be to try to encourage residential use, and specifically for one project that was being envisioned but never actually occurred?
Correct.
Because the building's for sale, isn't it? Or no?
I don't know the answer
Oh, it's just
to
a
that.
lease
Hopefully
sign
not.
then?
They just, well, I guess it could be. They'd sell it with the tenants, but I mean, so. But so that's sort of the issue. I mean, I read this report the same way, which suggested it was zoned with the intent to facilitate a larger residential development that hasn't happened. I mean, as configured, it really would, to turn that into residential would be a significant project. I mean, right now it's set up for that. It's got a storage tenant, a t-shirt manufacturer tenement. It has a CDL driving school there in the back, and a dance studio. And so those are all sort of a mixed use with, some public facing, some not so public facing.
Very good. Other questions from the board? Is there anything else you'd like us to know?
Not at this time.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone here who wishes to be heard in favor of this appeal? Is there anyone here who wishes to be heard in opposition to it? Is there any comment from code enforcement?
No.
With that, we'll declare the public testimony portion of the hearing closed and begin discussion amongst the board. And I'll ask Ms. Spector-Morgan to lead off the conversation, if you would, please.
I cannot get on board with this variance for a couple of reasons. First, as Andrew pointed out, it appears, or we have no evidence to the contrary, that the uses that are in there predate the zoning amendment. The zoning was changed to eliminate those uses. So the fact that it would have been permitted prior to the zoning change is really irrelevant to our consideration. I don't see that it is consistent with public interest. I don't see that it is not contrary to the spirit of the ordinance, and I don't see the hardship, because while this use may be very well suited for what they want, this property may be very well suited for what they want to do, there's nothing about the property that makes it unable to be used as zoned. I think the better path here is to seek a rezoning of this parcel back to its original zoning if the city council is so inclined to do that.
Mr. Winters.
I think those are good points. But However, I'm getting caught up on why this particular building was somehow targeted by this rezoning, because it's almost like it caught us stray. This building is, I'd say, fairly unique. I mean, this whole lot is fairly unique relative to everything around it. I mean, everything sort of going, I guess, north is and west is all residential, but then behind it and to the side is sort of more commercial / industrial type uses.
Yeah.
And this building, from what I remember, it's sort of I don't want to say dilapidated, but it's sort of an older, borderline functional building that I don't know what it could really be turned into. It's probably eventually might be torn down and redeveloped altogether. So I mean, I guess I'm just kind of meandering. I'm not really sure what the goal is in this rezoning and what they think that's going to be used for.
Mr. Monahan?
So was the rezoning done just for this lot, or was it to create?
Oh, it was
To
for
allow
just,
the use. This lot is the only lot that's that zone.
And is it the current owner who sought the rezoning, or you don't know?
I don't have the institutional history on that.
Do you know when it was rezoned in 2019?
2019. Staff notes that prior to the parcel being rezoned to OCP in 2019, with the intent to facilitate residential development, including conditional approval of a residential project in 2021 that has since expired. The site was previously zoned OFP, which would have permitted the proposed use.
That's really odd.
But that sounds like it was specifically changed for projects that
Yes.
didn't happen.
For the, because, I mean,
It was spot zone.
it was spot zone, but I mean, we don't see that. Typically, they'll ask for a variance. But it seems like they asked for a spot zoning, they got the spot zoning, and then instead they went out and saw a bunch of tenants who don't fit the zoning they asked for.
Who's they now?
Well, I think it sounds like the tenants that are there were there prior to the.
Well, I'm not sure the owner was the one who, is it the owner of this building that was proposing the residential development? Not that it matters, actually.
Or a prospective
Would have been in on it.
buyer, I guess.
I don't have the answer to that.
Okay, I'm not sure
Well,
it
I guess,
matters.
Owner
yeah, I don't,
passed.
I don't think it matters.
I guess
Yeah, it's just.
I can
yeah.
certainly appreciate it makes sense for this to be there, and the building owner is trying to attract the tenant, but I don't disagree with Laura that this is a city council matter. They created the problem. They should figure out a way to fix it, because I don't think we can.
Mr. Wallner?
Boy, I mean, it's mixed use right now, and this would continue that. It's an odd one. I'm not sure how to deal with it.
My take on this is that this building is an anomaly. And I think you could make an argument that the building itself creates the physical circumstances that provoke a hardship, which is to say, I think we've heard testimony that convinces me that having a furniture shop in here is a perfectly reasonable use for this building, and that it does not conflict in any way with the possibility of future development of this area for another purpose, if that ever does come to pass. So I guess I don't imagine that the intent, and I'm imagining here, I don't have any facts to back me up, that the intent of the city council in making this change was to prohibit this owner from putting tenants in his building. And obviously no one's going to live there. So I would be inclined to consider this a good candidate for a zoning variance. It's reasonable. In fact, it will be more or less invisible. And it takes into account the peculiar nature of this building and its location, and all of which have been there for 40 years that I'm aware of, and probably a lot longer than that. All right. Here we are.
There was the previous variance the board granted in 18, and I know it kind of falls,
There was an antique car place in there.
yeah, I believe it was,
Yeah.
I don't remember that one.
Well,
according to our records, an automotive repair shop that was granted a
They were new
variance in
cars then.
2018.
And it sounds like like the quietest use of the building. Everything else has public coming in and out of.
Mhm.
An auto shop, a dance studio.
And we may find that those uses have just evolved into these buildings without, even though they're not allowed.
Right.
Could be.
That tenants are coming and going and moving, and the city doesn't know about it, and then someone comes along and wants to move in, and then, oh, you're not allowed.
Yeah, I don't know that whether or not the other uses are allowed doesn't really affect my thinking on this.
So how did Top Notch here come to your attention? I assume they didn't self-report. I mean, why are they the ones who have to come get a variance?
They probably went to get a building permit.
Yeah. Oh, they needed right, because they're bringing in
renovation,
equipment, yeah.
All right, so we have 5 members and 5 different opinions.
Like the Supreme Court.
Yeah. All we need are robes, and we'll be good to go. So I guess the thing to do is to invite a motion, either for or again. You've heard the rationale to the extent that people have offered rationale up to now. Anyone care to make a motion?
I would make a motion to deny the requested variance on the basis that granting it would be contrary to the public interest and the spirit of the ordinance, given the 2019 rezoning, and that there is nothing special, unique, or differentiating about the property that renders it unfairly burdened by the provisions of the zoning ordinance.
Is there a second?
I'll second so we can vote on it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Before we vote, does somebody have or know what is allowed in this district by right in general?
Office spaces,
District, it's a property.
Like
There's
schools?
nothing else in that.
yeah, but Christian, but not
Christian
but not
academies.
like manufacturing.
Right, right.
Christian Academy
moderate
was,
manufacturing.
yeah.
Maybe daycares.
That property didn't
Oh, you
change
did.
though.
Oh,
The
you-
only property that zoning changed was this property. So it's not
Okay.
even a district, it's just,
Okay.
So.
Dwellings.
Multifamilies are allowed, multifamily dwelling for the elderly,
Right.
conversions,
educational ones.
colleges.
Okay.
I respect the argument that the city council probably should correct this if it needs correcting, but I think that it's an appropriate use for a variance to prevent injury to an innocent bystander who's just trying to do business, to grant a variance in this case. I'm sure that there's a very solid legal argument out there somewhere for why I'm totally crossways to the traffic with this, but to me that seems appropriate, especially since there's nothing about granting this variance that's going to prevent future development in the way the city or envisions.
Well,
Gas stations are allowed.
yeah, it's really, yeah. It's almost like designed just for Pembroke Road.
Public commercial parking lot,
Yeah.
commercial parking structures are allowed.
This could be an object lesson in one lot zoning.
Spot
Spot
zoning,
zoning.
which is
Why you don't do it?
which is discouraged, right? Yeah.
This is
It's
poster
illegal.
child.
There you go.
This is poster child for spots.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of seeing both sides. I'm talking myself in circles. I think there is a bit of a chicken or egg thing that could happen, because if they can't redevelop it to, you know, a supposedly better or purpose such as housing, which I think is what the city's sort of targeting this for, and is consistent with the surrounding neighbors, then they're going to sign leases. The tenants are going to bring in and, you know, develop within, and then that's going to make it hard, because now they have all these leases that are going to be hard to break. So then they're never, but they're not going to want to get nothing out of it while they're waiting. So that I think is legitimate, but at the same time, I do see Chris's point that Top Notch here is a bit of an innocent bystander. I mean,
And they have signed a lease, correct.
and
Yeah.
invested a lot into all the equipment, a lot, yeah.
And as the staff report does show, that just the next zone over, materials research and testing laboratories, at which the lot used to be zoned.
And the truth is, knowing this building,
Manufacturing, fabrication, and assembly industry was a permitted use before they
yeah,
did the spots on the change.
realistically, no one's going to be living there, and there's not going to be any churches or schools in there anytime soon. So
There's no developable land around it either. So it's not like it's gonna prevent something else from happening.
Yeah.
Everything's already developed.
Although they could, unless they tore down all those trees.
Okay, we have a motion and a second before us. Is there any further discussion? I'll call for a vote on that. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Okay.
The vote was 4-1, I believe, with Ms. Spector Morgan in the minority. Do we have a motion in the opposite direction?
I'll move approval.
Would you,
Yeah, I move to grant the variance from section 2824 JL 11, I can't read that, to allow for the use of office, warehouse, industrial flex use for a cabinetry manufacturing company located at 70 Pembroke Road because all the criteria under 674, 33 have been met based on the record before us, and I move to adopt the applicant's proposed finding as the board finding of fact.
is there a second for that motion?
I second.
It's moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
The vote is 4-1. The motion carries and the variance is granted. And that brings us to a whole package of variances for the same piece of property.
And for this one, I just want to disclose, I mean, you all know that I know most land use lawyers. Marie and I actually have an active case right now where we are on the same side of the case. So I think I can sit objectively and fairly, but if you all think I should recuse myself, I will.
If you do, I do.
Okay.
Anyone else have any concerns?
For your judgment.
No, thank you for disclosing.
I beg your pardon?
I don't have a concern with her sitting.
Very good. So this case, I'm going to abbreviate the readout here a little bit because we'll be into Thursday morning if I don't. This is Maria Dolder Esquire, who's on behalf of the property owner D. McLeod Incorporated, and they are requesting a series of variances which have to do with a requested change in use and configuration of their property at 47 and 49 South State Street in the Urban Commercial CU District. We know this building now as McLeod's Florists. So the requests are as follows. A variance to permit existing aisle width at the entrance to be 20 feet with an expansion to 22 feet where 24 feet is required, and along the southern parking area to remain at the existing 13 feet 10 inches to 15 feet where 24 feet is required. The next variance, and I'm going to ask you, Ms. Dolder, to, as you did in your memo, to address these all more or less at once.
I would appreciate that.
The next variance is to permit the existing driveway width at the entrance to be 20 feet where 24 feet is required. And the next variance is to permit parking to the property line where a 5-foot setback is required, with the parking in the southern parking area to have 4-foot setback. The parking area in the southeast area to have a 1.67-foot setback, and one parking spot in the northeast area to have a 1.1-foot setback. And the next one, which is a variance to permit the existing 4-foot parking spaces within the parking lot to be located, to exist, the 4 parking spaces, not 4-foot parking spaces, 4 parking spaces within the parking lot be located in the front yard where parking is not permitted within 10 feet of the lot line. We got a couple more, so don't go away. This one is a variance to permit the existing parking lot along the southern parking and the additional parking areas on the property to have no landscaping area where a 5-foot landscape area is required. And yet another variance to permit parking within the required landscaped area. And the last of all, but I'm sure not the least, a variance to permit the existing loading space within the building to remain on the front of the building with it backing into the street where it would not be permitted under the ordinance. Ms. Dolder, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Please,
Yes.
you
I
swear to tell the truth,
yes.
and would you identify yourself for the record, please?
Yep, for the record, my name is Maria Dolder. I'm an attorney, and I represent the applicant in this application. So before I start, I think the plan that's up on this board right now is the best illustration, because all of those areas in red are variances. And so, as you indicated, yes, there are 7 variances that are in this proposal. However, many of them overlap, and I think as you were reading them, you realized that a lot of them are for relatively the same thing and for the same area. So as we go, if you have specific questions about each of them, please feel free to stop and ask me. But as I did kind of put them together in my application, I am going to group them because, like I said, I do think that they overlap in many areas.
Just so you know, I can't see the red.
You can't see the red?
No, I'm colorblind.
Oh.
Sorry about that, so you may have to.
If you want me to go up and show you at any point, just let me know. I'm happy to do it.
If it's important to the case, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Just let me know and I'm happy to go up and show you, or have Aaron go up and show you.
Can you just, maybe this was I'm just struggling to, is this gonna be change of use, or is it still Clouds Forest rearranging their building?
So it is a change in use, but the use is permitted by right.
But it's still gonna be the same business taking,
It is not.
okay.
Nope, nope. It's going to be completely different. This is a whole redevelopment of this site.
Is it gonna be a giant tattoo parlor? What type of?
They don't have the commercial tenant yet. I'll explain to you as we go.
Wait, they're closing the flower shop?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I guess
It
I'm
helps me
out of it.
understand what type of traffic is gonna be in and out of the parking lot.
Yeah, and I can let Erin is here and she can tell you how she did the parking calculations to make sure that we meet those requirements. But the general gist of this is this property currently it has an attached building. It has a 3-story portion of it, a 2-story portion of it, a 1-story portion, and then it has an attached greenhouse, a detached greenhouse, and a detached garage. And as you all know, it's completely commercial, it's McLeod's Florist. The property does exceed your zoning requirements for lot size and for frontage, but given the fact that this was built somewhere in the 1850s, it clearly has numerous pre-existing non-conforming aspects of the property. So in addition to dealing with how that building is actually laid out, we're also dealing with the driveway and the existing parking areas. And this property actually has 3 deeded common pathways that benefit adjoining properties.
And
so
can you show those on the plan?
Yeah,
Because there's
sure.
only one shown.
If you want to go back to the,
You're talking about the rights-of-way?
Yeah.
Is
are
that-
you able to, sorry, I don't want to.
It's a common passway, the same thing as a right-of-way?
Yeah.
No, probably not.
I think that's one of the ones she's talking about.
Right-of-way you actually own, right? Where is it?
I thought a right-of-way means anyone can go through, but an easement
There's one
means
right
just your neighbor can go.
Oh, is
through.
that
Yeah.
Right, is that right? Sorry.
This is one,
Oh, okay.
and there's one up there.
And who else has the right to use them?
Can you scroll down a little?
This way.
The other way.
Sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
This right here. So this one benefits this property, so it's common for these two. This one benefits here,
Okay.
and then the one down below benefits the abutter.
Okay. Thank
And I
you.
One of
believe it's
them's
the abutter's only
Waters.
access.
Okay.
One of them's Waters Funeral Home that goes down to Main
Yes,
Street.
one of them is for
Yeah.
Waters. So as a result, we cannot impede or impact any of those common pathways because they are deeded by right. And so when you combine those deeded pathways along with the fact that it has a bunch of non-conforming aspects to this property, it is difficult to redevelop it. So what the applicant is proposing to do, and this sort of gets to your question, they're going to convert this into 5 residential units and 1 commercial space. All of that is permitted by right under zoning ordinance, so we don't need any relief for the actual use itself. As the property sits today, obviously that existing building is in the front setbacks. We know that. Your parking areas are in the setbacks. The attached greenhouse, the detached greenhouse, and the detached garage are all in the setbacks. So as part of redeveloping this, the attached greenhouses, the detached greenhouses, and the detached garage are all going to be removed. So we are going to take those non-conforming structures off of the property entirely. So the only structure that will continue to be pre-existing non-conforming is the existing building up front that sits in the front setbacks that we can't do anything about. So even though the applicant is going to put an addition onto the building where the attached greenhouses currently exist, that addition will meet the setbacks. So that will not encroach on your setbacks. That addition is actually permitted by right. The other thing that I just want to note for the board, because this is not technically a nonconformity, but in the past, this property did receive a variance to exceed the required lot coverage. With this redevelopment and consolidating the buildings, the applicant will actually meet your lot coverage requirements. So it's creating a better situation than exists there today. So unfortunately, I think you probably realized by the number of the variance requests, the majority of those are pre-existing non-conforming aspects to this property, and we're just asking them to remain. Because we have to go through the site plan review process, we are technically required to bring this property into compliance, and that is just not possible to do in order to redevelop it at this point in time. So if you don't have any preliminary questions, I'll just kind of walk through the variance requirements.
Carry on.
All right. So granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest. As you all know, in order to be contrary to the public interest, it has to unduly and in a marked degree conflict with your ordinance such that it violates the ordinance's basic zoning objectives. We do not believe that this is the case here. We do not believe that it's going to alter the essential characteristics of the neighborhood, nor that it will threaten the public health, safety, or welfare of the public. So, as I said, I kind of grouped all of these variances into three different categories. One is the existing driveway and aisle width variances. And I can show you which those are if you don't mind going back to that plan. So this is the existing driveway and existing aisle width that existed, and that is one of the common pathways. As it exists today, it is 20 feet, and it has been used in connection with that existing commercial use with no issue. So basically what we're asking is that we want to maintain the driveway and the aisle width at the entrance at the existing 20 feet. We are able to expand the aisle width to 22 feet once we get into the site. So we'll start at 20. We will expand it a little bit. It is currently 20 the entire aisle way. So the entrance, as you can see on one of these pictures, that's the lower entrance. It has those two large trees. They're very well established, and they're on either side of the driveway. At least one of those would have to be removed if we want to even try to increase that driveway, because they center on that driveway as it exists today. Like I said, that driveway and aisle are one of our deeded common pathways, so we are limited in what we can do with it. And one of the reasons why we're not able to get to the whole 24 feet, even once we get into the site, is, as I'm sure you can see, once we start increasing the width of that, now we're taking away parking. We're going to impact that parking lot, and now we have a parking issue. And so we're trying to balance the maintaining of those parking spaces with trying to get the aisle width to be as large as we can in order to accommodate this use. The same can be said about, yes, the southern parking area. So that southern parking area there, that common passway, I believe, is the sole access to the abutting neighbor. That's also a pre-existing condition. It's not contrary to the public interest, and that one has a varying width to it. And so at this point, we just want to maintain that entirely as it exists today. In terms of the parking lot variances, so once again, we are asking to maintain the existing conditions and to try to improve the overall circulation and flow of the site. So the southern parking lot is existing, and all of the variances, so that's the lower area, all of those, that parking area right there, all of the variances that we're asking for that parking area are pre-existing as of today. That is connected to the contiguous 10-foot wide common passway, which once again, we can't impede that, we can't get rid of it. Now, we may not have as big of an issue on that side as possible, because the deeded right does say that a deeded an undivided interest in the half of the common passway. We haven't done enough title work to determine whether or not the boundary line is further than we think it is today, but we're just making an assumption that it's at the common passway just so that we can kind of go forward, and we'll figure that out as we go to site plan. So in order to accommodate this, basically we met with the city. So when we met with the city conceptually about this, we had a couple of different meetings. The city actually asked us to try to improve circulation in the site. And in order to do that, we are going to impact the existing parking. We're going to take some of that parking out, and we're going to put an aisle width in there. And that will allow some circulation around the property that doesn't exist today. And like I said, that was based on comments that we received from the city that they said that they would like to see better circulation. Well, unfortunately, when we take out those parking spots there to create the circulation, we need to put them back somewhere else. And so what you'll see on, this plan. Is where this used to all be parking. We're going to take out an aisle width here. And so when we do that, we're going to move spaces here and spaces here. I do believe that when this goes to planning board, they're going to ask for a waiver and aisle width, and so we might be able to get that down a little bit, but that's a planning board issue. So for purposes of variances, we wanted to make sure we did worst case scenario. So these spaces might be able to come off a little bit, but we don't know that for sure. But in order to meet our parking requirements, we had to take some parking from there, move it here, and 2 spaces there in order to try and get that aisle width so that we can improve circulation for the city. And so that's why we need those additional parking variances. In terms of the loading space, so this property currently has a loading space. It's used for the florist. It is located entirely within the building. We're just asking to maintain that because it doesn't make a lot of sense to try and get rid of it and move it somewhere else. The problem is the loading space is located in the front of the building, and it does back into the street.
Would that be part of the commercial use?
Yes, it will. Yep, that portion, see the garage door there where the green car is parked? That's the loading space.
Parking zone?
Yes, it's their car.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, I know we see that in there, it's a McLeod's vehicle, but the city has already addressed this because yes.
No one's going to drive a car that color. You can park it anywhere you like.
There is a curb cut.
Colorblind, so let's be cautious.
It looks yellow to me.
Well, it's yellowy green, so I think that's fine. But so the city has already accommodated this. There is a no parking zone. There is an existing curb cut. And so we would just be using it in the same manner as it is today. It isn't contrary to the public interest because all of it is located within the building. Even though the loading space is there, it technically is all inside. And it's also important to note that a loading space is required on this property. But given all of our other physical constraints of the site, the location of the building, it would actually be impossible to try and relocate this space to a place that would actually meet your zoning ordinance. So we're asking to maintain that space. Even with the requested variances, we do not think that this property will alter the essential characteristics of the neighborhood. The neighborhood already is a mix of residential and commercial uses. And like I said, both of these uses are permitted by right on this property. And as a result, we believe that this is all in the public interest to try to consolidate this, to redevelop it, to get rid of some of the non-conforming aspects of the property while we're trying to improve circulation on the site. One of the other things is there still is a lack of housing available within the city of Concord. Granting these variances will allow this property to be redeveloped to provide an additional 5 residential units while maintaining a 1 commercial unit. We believe that that's beneficial to the public interest. Number 2, the spirit of the ordinance. Once again, this is in a zone where all of the uses being permitted are permitted by right, and it is consistent with the neighborhood and the abutting properties. It does meet your lot size, it does meet your frontage requirements, and once again, it meets your lot coverage requirements. The majority of the variances that we're asking for are pre-existing non-conforming aspects to the site. We believe that this is certainly within the spirit of the ordinance. We are trying to consolidate. We are actually eliminating some of the non-conforming aspects, which we also believe is something that the ordinance tries to encourage. The driveway, the aisle, the main parking area, the loading area, all of those already exist on this property today without any issues whatsoever. So it's certainly not contrary to the zoning ordinance to allow those to be maintained. And so we believe that it is not contrary to your zoning ordinance. Substantial justice. One of the guiding rules when you look at substantial justice is that any loss to the individual that's not outweighed by a gain to the public is an injustice. Once again, we believe that we satisfy this requirement. If the city were to deny redevelopment of the property as proposed, it is a tremendous loss to the applicant without any justified gain to the public. If you look at this site and you look at the existing structures on this property where you have your existing parking areas, your driveways, you have 3 common pathways, and you have multiple greenhouses on the site, anybody's going to have to do something to redevelop this site unless you were able to somehow get a different florist to come in and just step right in the shoes. So there is going to have to be some type of development, some type of change to the site when they want to sell the site property. And in this particular case, we are doing this in a meaningful way. We are trying to minimize the nonconformities. We're trying not to create any further nonconformities, and we will be able to do it in a way that's an allowable use under your zoning ordinance. It's substantial justice is also when you don't adversely impact nearby property owners and you allow property to be reasonably used. Once again, even with the relief, since all of these uses are permitted by right under your zoning ordinance, we do not believe that they'll have any adverse effect on any of the adjoining neighborhood. This already operates as a full commercial property with all of these issues related to the nonconformities, the parking, the location of the parking, the location of the buildings. We are going to actually improve a bunch of that in this proposal. And with the residential, we only need 1 parking spot per residential, and we've provided 3 of them in the new addition in garage spaces. So we've been able to accommodate the residential in connection with this, and by putting the garage space on, we're able to get 3 of those parking spaces within the buildings. The only one that I want to sort of differentiate on this particular issue is that when we're talking about the parking area variances, basically we are required, once again, to keep that 10-foot common passway along both of those areas, but particularly along the parking area and the abutting neighbor. If we were to try to install any type of like landscaping or alter the parking, see, yes, down there, now we start to impact our ability to access that area, and it also impacts the ability of customers to enter into that parking lot and to have the flow that the city is looking for. So that's why we want to keep that parking lot as it sits today. In terms of the values of surrounding properties, once again, it's in the CU district. The building itself is pre-existing, that's going to stay. The improvements to the property are simply to improve circulation, add some different parking, and then there's going to be an addition to the building, but the addition will meet the setbacks, whereas 3 of the buildings currently do not. So that is an improvement. We do not think that there is any impact that would be detrimental to surrounding properties or their values. Unnecessary hardship. So we do think that this is a very unique piece of property. As it currently exists, it has a number of pre-existing non-conforming traits, including multiple structures within your setbacks, parking areas within your setbacks, they don't have landscaping buffers, and reduced driveway and aisle widths. And one of the other impacts is we have 3 common pathways that go across this property in various locations that we are not allowed to impede or use as part of the development. We have to keep those. So I think that that makes this particular property very unique in where it sits. One of the things that we will be able to do is, and I think it does make it unique, is the only structure that will remain on this site that will be non-conforming is that existing front building. Once we do this project, that will be the only thing building that you see within a setback. Like I said, we're going to remove the attached greenhouse, the detached greenhouse, and the detached garage. And those all encroach within our setbacks. So having parking in a couple of those areas that may encroach in the setback is much better situation than the buildings themselves that currently sit there. This is an older, well-established neighborhood. It is densely developed with a mix of both commercial and residential uses. A lot of these properties in this area actually fail to meet size requirements and your frontage requirements. This property is quite unique and it meets both of those. And so even though it has these non-conforming aspects to it, it does meet your size and your frontage requirements. In terms of the existing driveway and aisle width, in terms of unnecessary hardship, once again, it is kind of a unique circumstance because we have those large trees that have grown up along the existing driveway that has been used in connection with this existing commercial use with no issue. They create a complicated situation in trying to obviously extend the entrance to that particular driveway right when you're going in. And as I indicated earlier, it's not possible for us to extend the entire aisle to a 24 width because of the fact that now we start to impact all the parking spaces. So as we expand that aisle width, now our parking is diminished, so then we would have an issue with trying to figure out where we put parking on the site. The same can be said, as I indicated, on the lower common passway. We need the parking spaces to remain as they are, and so as they exist today, they provide us with parking. And we're really not able to widen that other common passway without, as you can see, without significantly, it's a 10-foot, without significantly impacting all the parking in that parking lot. So in effect, if we were to try to do both of those aisle widths, we would eliminate all of the parking on site. And we do not think that that's a fair and substantial relationship to the purposes of your ordinance and the provision to this particular property. The parking lot variances, once again, the majority of those are just to maintain what is pre-existing on this site and to allow the site to continue to be used as it is. As I had already indicated, those other few parking variances that we need on the side are because of the fact that we're trying to provide that aisle in the middle of the site for circulation at the request of the city. We didn't, honestly, we didn't have those originally on the plan, but when we met with the city, they indicated that they would prefer to see some circulation. So we decided to ask for the variances in order to move parking a little bit on the site. We do think that it's a minimal relief, and we do think that it does make the site better. And once again, for the loading space, once again, we do feel that it is unique because it's pre-existing. It obviously is in front of the building. It is going to be a situation where you have to back out into the street, but it is pre-existing. It works today. Its function, the city has taken steps to, like I said, prevent parking there. It does have its own curb cut, and so we do not think there's any fair and substantial relationship between the purpose of the ordinance and having that loading space be removed for this project. One more. The use is reasonable. I'm trying.
You're doing great.
Thanks. I tried to keep them consolidated as much as I can.
We're all still awake. Everybody's feeling good.
I know. I figured if you wanted to hear me do it 7 times.
No, you've come up with a good solution.
Thank you. So the proposed use is reasonable. Once again, the uses are permitted by right in the zoning district. We do think that this is a reasonable use of the property, a reasonable way to redevelop it, use what exists, and to try and eliminate some of the nonconformities on the site. So with that, if you have any questions or if you need me to point anything else out on the, I am happy to do so.
Questions from the board?
Yeah, sure.
A couple of things. So there's, help me better understand the constraints around are they deeded rights of way or
Yes.
easements? And so
Yes,
there's no
they're
way to buy your way out of this?
No, in fact, I believe that the lower one is the only access to the property.
Right.
So this one?
Yeah. This passway, I believe, is the sole access to this lot.
To that property.
Yep. So I think what happened at some point in time, this was a public road, and it was a different road, and I think it may have been discontinued at some point in time. And so they had all these common pathways trying to get to the various properties.
And when all said and done, how many parking spots are you going to need?
Am I still sworn in?
You're still sworn in. The record will show Ms. Lambert is testifying.
Hi, Erin Lambert. I'm the civil engineer working on the project. So we estimated based on the most conservative, we don't know who the commercial tenant will be, so we used the most conservative requirements. So it needs 28 parking spaces, which are shown here. 3 of them, as Maria mentioned, are inside of the proposed townhouses. The rest of them are surface spaces. So it's 1 parking space per residential unit, so 5 parking spaces. And then I calculated the commercial space, which is just about 5,100 square feet, at 1 per 250. So it'll accommodate, you know, any commercial, retail, office space, all the uses that are allowed in that zone.
So we have enough.
We have enough parking spaces. There's no parking relief needed.
Other questions?
It's kind of related to that. I mean, I'm a little surprised that you're doing this much detail of a plan and getting all the variances and going before planning board now when you don't have the commercial tenant, because wouldn't the nature of the commercial tenant potentially dictate some of these decisions?
No, not really. From a site perspective, the things that we have to look for the site plan application is the use and what's the required parking. So yes, if we were trying to get, say, a restaurant tenant in there, which is allowed, we wouldn't be able to because we can't meet the parking. And so we're getting ahead of having a tenant, but they would have to fall within the constraints of retail, commercial, office, something that would be closer to the 1 per 250 without outside storage or this additional demand for, you know, a high level of customers that a restaurant would generate.
So you're just going to exclude any kind of tenants who don't really, because this lot's already pretty unique, you'll seek types of tenants who would fit in this structure?
Correct.
Okay.
And there will be residential structures too, so we want it to be compatible with that, because they're going to have 5 residential uses in it. So I think we planned for sort of, I would say maybe the worst case scenario in terms of what commercial could look like that was consistent and fit on this site.
Other questions? Anything? Nick?
Nope.
Anything else you'd like us to know?
No?
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone here who wishes to be heard in favor of this appeal? Is there anyone who wishes to be heard in opposition to it? Any comments from code enforcement?
Well, just so you know, planning worked with the applicant, so we could have had about 4 or 5 more variances. So,
oh, good.
We did a lot of discussions. The applicant has been very cooperative and worked well together with the city staff to come with some reasonable, fair, and hopefully long-standing interpretations to prevent them from having many variances instead of 7 that they already needed.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Good to know. With that, we'll declare the excuse me, public testimony portion of the hearing closed. And okay, I guess I got to pick somebody. Whoever has to go first.
Yes, each case needs its own motion.
Well,
For discussion.
I can definitely talk as far as each case can its own motion. I'll just say, you know, generally, it's obviously a lot, and, you know, so when you at first blush, you're like, wow, this is a lot of requests, but obviously, you know, it's a classic zoning thing. Once you start redeveloping a site this old, you have to get a variance for everything. So 90% of this is pre-existing use, and then the part that's not is primarily, I think, improvements, you know, in thinking about how they're going to use the lot. Obviously, you know, the backing out, I think, is not desirable, but that can't be avoided in this lot. It's a really tight lot. Probably a lot of people park on the street who use the flower shop now, and you know, whoever rents it out is going to have to be, you know,
parking is going to be a consideration. It can't be a high demand parking type of business. So, in general, I'm in favor.
All right. Nick, how do you see it?
I think Andrew did. It's such a complex thing, but basically you're dealing with, obviously the hardship is basically the uniqueness of the whole project.
Jim?
Yeah, I'm generally okay with it. The loading area to the street gives me the willies. But it's hard to know without knowing who the commercial tenant is, how that would be used. There could be a case to be made that we could move forward with all but that, but I don't know where else you would do with loading on this property, or would it constrain the applicant's ability to find a tenant because they don't have the loading facilities. So, as I said, it gives me the willies.
Ms. Spector Morgan?
I'm inclined to approve them all, including the loading space, because it presently exists. So, yeah, I think they've done a nice job redesigning the site, and I don't have any issue.
Very good. Now, the mechanics of this. I'm going to go home now.
It's hard for me to toggle on my iPad
I'll do
back and forth. Oh, you got
I
the
have them
paper.
printed out.
Oh,
I'll do
okay.
If you want me to share so that you can do all the motions.
Yeah. I guess we need a motion, but we don't probably need the litany for everyone, do we?
You have to do
Stephanie wants them all.
Yeah, you have to do
She's
the.
got them all printed out.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
all
have
right.
to do it. Each
Okay.
application needs its own motion, decision,
Okay.
vote.
All right, take it
We
away.
need 7.
Laura?
I move to grant the variance from section 2877E, minimum aisle width, to permit the existing aisle width at the entrance to 20 feet with an expansion to 22 feet where 24 feet is required, and along the southern parking area to remain at the existing 13 feet 10 inches to 15 feet where 24 feet is required, located at 47 to 49 South State Street, because all of the criteria under 674-33 have been met based on the record before us, and I move to adopt the applicant's proposed findings as the board's findings of fact.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
So we'll vote on them one by, okay.
Yeah, we might as well. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The vote's unanimous. Next.
I move to grant the variance from section 2877F, driveway width, to permit the existing driveway width at the entrance to remain at 20 feet where 24 feet is required, located at 47 to 49 South State Street, because all of the criteria under 674-33 have been met based on the record before us, and I move to adopt the applicant's proposed findings as the board's findings of fact.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's approved. Next.
I move to grant the variance from section 2877G2, setbacks from lot lines, to permit parking up to the property line, where a 5-foot setback is required, with the parking in the southern area to have a 4-foot setback, the parking area in the southeast to have a 1.67-foot setback, and one parking spot in the northeast to have a 1.1-foot setback, located at 47 to 49 South State Street, because all of the criteria under 674-33 have been met based on the record before us, and I move to adopt the applicant's proposed findings as the board's findings of fact.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The vote is unanimous. Or I assume, anyone opposed? The vote is unanimous. The variance is granted. Please proceed.
I move to grant the variance from section 2877G2, setbacks from lot lines, to permit the existing 4 parking spaces within the parking lot to be located in the front yard, where parking is not permitted within 10 feet of the front lot line, located at 47 to 49 South State Street, because all of the criteria under 674-33 have been met based on the record before us, and I move to adopt the applicant's proposed findings as the board's findings of fact.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The vote is unanimous. The variance is granted.
I move to grant the variance from section 28710A, parking lot perimeter landscaping required, to permit the existing parking lot along the southern parking and the additional parking areas on the property to have no landscaping area, where a 5-foot landscaped area is required, located at 47 to 49 South State Street, because all of the criteria under 674-33 have been met based on the record before us, and I move to adopt the applicant's proposed findings as the board's findings of fact.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The variance is granted.
Move to grant the variance from section 28.710C, use of required landscaped areas restricted, to permit parking within the required landscaped area where parking is not permitted under the ordinance, located at 4749 South State Street, because all of the criteria under 674-33 have been met based on the record before us, and I move to adopt the applicant's proposed findings as the board's findings of fact.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The vote is unanimous. The motion passes. The variance is granted.
And last but not least, I move to grant the variance from section 28.713B, location of loading spaces, to permit the existing loading space within the building to remain on the front of the building, with it backing into the street where it would not be permitted under the ordinance located at 47 to 49 South State Street, because all of the criteria under 674-33 have been met based on the record before us, and I move to adopt the applicant's proposed findings as the board's findings of fact.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? You voted no. Okay. The variance is granted with a 4-to-1 vote, with Mr. Monahan in the minority. And that takes care of that case and moves us on to the minutes from, let's see, September 3rd, December 3rd, January 7th, and February 4th. September 3rd, I wasn't present at, so I can't speak to those.
Move to table. I moved to approve.
God.
I moved to approve. I moved to approve the September 3rd minutes.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, how about December 3rd, January 7th, February 4th? Should we take each of those in turn?
I was gone for the January and February meetings, so
All right. How about December 3rd?
I was here for that. So I moved to approve the December 3rd minutes.
Is there a second?
I think I was there.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? January 7th, anyone here for that?
I was here, I'll move the minutes.
I don't think I was here for that.
Okay.
I move to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And finally, February 4th. I was here.
There's only 3 of you.
I wasn't here for
Yeah, we
February
didn't do
4th.
anything on February 4th.
We didn't do anything.
Yeah,
Well,
it
we
was the
just-
continuation of Banks.
Yeah, okay.
right? So it was very quick, so what three were here? Was it?
I was
That's right,
here.
you sat in,
Okay.
no, Jim,
Anyone make a motion?
that's right, so we can approve February.
Move approval. Or
Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Wonderful, those are done, they're done.
Wow,
done.
that's great, get them off
So
the,
glad you stayed.
Any other business come before us this evening?
I don't want to take a lot of time, and I don't know if we should do it on the record now, but the discussion about the decisions on regional impact.
Oh, what the procedure should be?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can talk about that.
I personally,
Do you want to do it on the record, or?
it's, part of the background is that we're off, we're done.
We haven't adjourned yet.
Adjourned?
No.
Okay, I just didn't know where we're at.
Yeah,
There's
we're
just been some-
still on the air.
Okay, there's been some inter-office difference of interpretations
Mhm.
as to what constitutes a DRI and what doesn't. So there's been two ends of the spectrum. Interpret it ultra conservatively and interpret it where it only applies if an application comes in that meets the criteria of development of regional impact, not every application that comes in that meets the development of regional impact. So we've, again, kind of been batting that back and forth and around, and it seems to have, maybe not permanently, but for the time being, landed on that every application that comes needs to be taken as a DRI. So
And technically, the law says for every application we receive, we're supposed to decide whether or not it's a development of regional impact. What most towns do is staff makes that initial determination, and if it's questionable, it goes to the board.
and that's kind of where the interpretation of the RSA is coming into play with staff, because every application that comes in, and then you read the word salad down farther, and it says meeting these criteria. So there's, my interpretation is that if the application comes in and it meets the criteria, is it an impact on services? Is it traffic? Is it residential? Whatever the criteria are in the law and in your regulations, then those are the types of applications.
So that initial determination will be made by staff.
If the if we have an application that comes in, it's for a nuclear power plant, and that's part
Yeah.
of, the criteria for a DRI, then staff would say to board, we have an application that comes in that may meet
Yeah.
DRI, you guys make the determination.
From my point of view, that would be much preferable to wasting, spending a lot of time essentially checking a
Right,
pointless box.
because as of right now, I believe every staff memo has kind of what's a boilerplate, and then so that we just kind of gloss over it, whereas if there was some way to flag it, if it's something we actually should be deliberating, or at least it's recommended we should be obviously we can raise it if we want it anytime, but usually we're only going to do it if staff has flagged it.
We have addressed this in the past
Yeah.
under those circumstances.
Sure, yeah,
Right,
every
but
now and then.
usually there's a set of facts
Yeah.
that come to us and say,
Yeah.
this is why.
And then somebody brings
Usually
it up,
something to
then
do with
it's
the
pretty-
aquifer,
It's
but
pretty
it's-
obvious.
Yeah.
Right, you'll make it obvious in the memo, or someone will. that we
Correct,
need- we should
and
be
again,
talking
and
about.
that's, kind of where the discussions have come from, because taking the current status of then you're declaring a setback for a deck, as you'd have to make a motion for a DRI.
Yeah.
And so that's where the staff tennis match is kind of ongoing. And it's good to know how the board feels. I can report that back to, with
Yep.
staff, to let them know. So I'm more comfortable with doing it the way that the board would like to. If I see something that comes in that does meet the criteria, then flag it for the board
Is
to
that the
discuss
consensus of the
whether or
board?
not.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
You ever have circumstances where somebody who's opposed to a project will raise the issue?
Oh, yeah.
For a DRI?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen it come
They
in. It's
can.
always because
Yeah.
you
It's
probably are aware of
usually-
it ahead of time that it might come in, right?
I don't think it's come in as a contention.
No,
ever
it's
for
usually a
us.
point on appeal that it should have been noticed as a
Yeah.
DRI. Because when you notice as DRI, all it does is you've got to send it to the Regional Planning Commission and the abutting
And the regional-
abutting
the
town,
abutting towns, yeah.
and
Yep.
then, continue the hearing, so.
Right.
Yeah, it's, if there's something, and the other rule of thumb is when in doubt, declare.
Right.
So if the nuclear power plant's coming to town, but that's not listed as one of your criteria for a DRI, then you may want to, declare it a DRI, that kind of thing. If you've got 500 housing units coming in over 6 years and say your regulations say anything phased over 5, you may say, well, this still could be a development of regional impact.
Very good. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.
Attendance.